This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 15th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy Hump Day to everyone out there. And for the first time in a very, very long time, we don't have any Phillies news. And not sure how I feel about it. Still not feeling great, especially seeing a lot of people are like, well, look, the Brewers are struggling against the Dodgers too. It doesn't make me feel better because the Phillies outplayed the Dodgers in that series. But it's going to be a long offseason. Kind of looking ahead, there's not a very good free agent class for the Phillies to add players. Obviously, there are some, but you have all the other teams looking to go after them as well. So we'll have to see how that plays out. The rumors that I heard yesterday, Kyle Schwarber could be seeking a 5-year, $30 million a year contract. Thanks, Kyle, but no thanks. And it's not even the money. Like, if it was a 3-year, 4-year deal for $30 million, I would. But that 5th year, man, I don't know. That's a lot of money. Maybe he gives us the hometown discount. I know he's looking to be set up. JT should be interesting too, depending on how many years he wants. I mean, maybe you suck it up and give him 3. But if he's going to be, I'm seeing reports out there, he might want 4. Again, no thank you. So it should be interesting. Tons of rumors. I'm not going to go into all the rumors every day on here because we would drive ourselves crazy. But if anything of substance comes up, we'll be sure to report them. But that's kind of it for our Phillies coverage for 2025. Disappointing way, but hot stove season will be here before you know it. And then again, before you know it, it'll be spring training. All right, some Eagles news. Vic Fangio said yesterday that he's not sure about Quinyon, whether or not he'll play. I don't know. Jalen Carter also is questionable to play. So we'll see what happens. Still no word on who the Vikings quarterback is going to be, whether it is going to be McCarthy or Carson Wentz. I think we'll know more today because I feel like today is an actual legitimate practice. But the Eagles could be in trouble. And Howie should be working the phones right now. Apparently Kevin Patula had a productive meeting with the offense on how to fix things. And we'll see. I will say, I was going through my time hop today, and the question of the day on this day last year is, who's more to blame for the Eagles' offense being stagnant? So exactly 1 year ago, we were in the same spot. So maybe this is the week they start to break out of it. I don't know. But we'll have more on that on the Brotherly Birds breakdown coming out Thursday during Thursday Night Football. Kyle and I will break it all down and give you our takes on what's wrong with the Eagles. But that is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube, dropping tomorrow night. But they could be in trouble. Some positive Sixers news, and maybe this is me getting sucked in. I'm okay with it. Nick Nurse did not rule out Joel Embiid for Friday's final preseason game. Now, that is not the news there. To me, the fact that he's even not ruled out yet is the positive because they open up then later next week against the Boston Celtics. So we could see Joe making his return for the regular season in the home, or I guess they're up in Boston for the season opener. So that's positive news. And I know, I'm not going to kick the football, but I'm starting to think about it. Some quick housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo on all socials. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Leave a review, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff actually helps outsmart the algorithm. The Discord channel is live. Go to the first link in the description. Come over and have some good Philly banter. Been having some fun over there in the Discord, so come check it out. And as always, you can call or text me on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531 and get anything Philly sports related off of your chest. All right, it is Wednesday, so it's time for What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to lotwin.com, get your 3D custom hype chain. They're good for birthdays, gifts at the office, youth sports, you name it, bachelor parties. So go check them out. And these things are high quality. I can highly recommend it. Every time I do a Wednesday, I say I should show Thatcher's chain. I will get it for you later this week. But go to lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD, and get your 3D custom hype chain. All right, so last week, since we're kind of done with the Phillies now, we mentioned Black Friday, which was Game 3 of the 1977 NLCS. That was when the crowd had Bert Hooton rattled. The crowd was in a frenzy. The Phillies looked like they were going to win. And then Danny Ozark did not sub Jerry Martin for Greg Luzinski for defensive purposes. And as fate would have it, it would come back to bite the Phillies in the ass. So there were 2 outs in the ninth. If Martin makes the catch from Manny Moto's hit that Luzinski fell off of Luzinski's glove, game over. Phillies up 2-1. Coming back the next day for Game 4 at the Vet, where the crowd was going to be whipped into a frenzy. I don't think there's any way the Phillies lose Game 4 if they hold on, especially the way the crowd was for Game 3. And usually, as you see, a lot of times, and again, I'm not saying this is the singular play that cost the Phillies that year, but usually there's a singular play, a singular call, or whatever that just kind of sucks the life out of a team. And this is what happened. They were only down 2-1. They could have still won Game 4 with Steve Carlton on the mound, but still made some errors. But I think if they make that substitution and Jerry Martin comes in, I think the Phillies win it, and then they go to the World Series, and then who knows what happens? It's an epic World Series. You have the 2 best teams with the 2 best records in the league. Phillies with 101 wins. The Yankees with 100 wins. That was Reggie Jackson and Thurman Munson. That team. You never know. I mean, they could have taken it to them. The Phillies would have had momentum on their side. They would have had games at the Vet with the crowd being all pumped up. Maybe it starts a rivalry. But somehow, some way, I mean, either way, win or lose, it completely changes the trajectory of the team. Could that one managerial decision have cost the Phillies a dynasty? Because they go in, win the 77 World Series, all of a sudden that 78 team that wins 78 games has the confidence to come back and beat the Dodgers to go back to the World Series. Do they even need to bring in Pete Rose, and how does that impact 1980? Maybe they come back and win it in 81. Maybe Danny Ozark keeps his job as a manager that's gotten to the World Series, because part of why he got fired and replaced by Dallas Green was just 3 straight years of winning the division, not coming off to a hot start in 79. Maybe he keeps his job, and it's just one little decision. Now, Danny Ozark did lead the Phillies to 3 straight division titles, 3 straight years winning 100 games. But one decision, it came back to haunt him, and who knows what would have happened. Does it mean Danny Ozark is a bad manager? No. Should he have been fired in 1979? Maybe. Why am I harping on that for What If Wednesday? It's because there's a lot of parallels between Danny Ozark and Rob Thompson. Danny Ozark got that chance to start that 79 season. There was a short leash. This is what I'm basically calling for Dave Dombrowski and John Middleton to do with Rob Thompson for next year. Give him the chance, but have that short leash, because maybe you do need, and again, a lot's going to be dependent upon how this team is made up. And the fact that they are keeping Thompson leads me to believe that there might be some big changes happening, because if you're keeping this same team that and running it back, as everybody keeps saying, I think you need a fresh voice in there. You need a Dallas Green. You need a Larry Bowa, somebody to come in there and shake it up. But if you're going to have a lot of new faces, or at least new faces in key spots, and you trust in Rob Thompson, there you go. And again, similar thing with Danny Ozark here. And we saw what happened to Ozark. If Rob Thompson gets fired, he gets fired. I mean, but I'm willing to go into the season with Rob Thompson. But this is What If Wednesday. So what if Danny Ozark would have subbed Jerry Martin for Greg Luzinski? Would the Phillies have had a dynasty? Would he have kept his job? Would Pete Rose have ever come to Philly? Would Mike Schmidt have been considered even greater than what he was? We never know, but let me know your thoughts on the Back to the Future voice and text line or the Discord channel. That is What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to lotwin.com for your 3D custom hype chain and use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off of your order. But that's one that always plagued me as a kid, because I grew up hearing about Black Friday and why Danny Ozark did not make the substitution. And had he made the substitution, there's no doubt in my mind, based on talking with people growing up as a kid, Phillies would have won Game 4, and it would have been an epic series against the Yankees. But let me know your thoughts on Black Friday. Want to show off your Philly pride without saying a word? Philly Goat has you covered. From tees, hoodies, shoes, and hats, their gear screams Philly louder than an Eagles fan at the vet. Whether you're tailgating in South Philly or trying to flex down the Jersey Shore, do it in style. Hit up phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery, and get 10% off your order. Philly Goat, because being Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. Go Birds! All right, October 15th. First, let's go back to 1980. And once again, the Phillies found themselves down in a World Series game. This time it was 4-2 in the 8th inning of Game 2. Phillies score 4 runs on RBI doubles by Del Unser and Mike Schmidt, and RBI singles by Keith Moreland and Bake McBride. Ron Reed comes in and saves it as the Phillies go up 2-0, heading to Kansas City, and everybody was excited for the World Series. As we know, it would come back to Philly, where the Phillies would win Game 6. Also notable for this World Series game is All-Star third baseman for the Royals, George Brett, had to leave the game due to hemorrhoids and have a minor surgery before coming back for Game 3. So just an interesting take there, and it became national news and everything. But that's why George Brett was out of the game. But Phillies overcome a 4-2 deficit in the 8th to come back to win World Series Game 2 and take a 2-0 lead out to Kansas City. And that does lead to today's trivia question. But first, yesterday's trivia question, I asked, talked about the start of the Flyers' 35-game unbeaten streak. Who was the Flyers' all-star goalie in 1978 or 79-80? That would be Pete Peters. Well, that's an interesting story. I won't talk about it on here, but if you go look, there's some borderline assault charges that he did on a reporter. Go look it up, the Pete Peters story. It's interesting. It's very messed up, but there's part of me that thinks it's kind of funny. Actually, I don't, because now I'm going to get canceled for even saying that. But go check out the Pete Peters story. But today's trivia question, canceling myself over here, Jesus. But October 15th, today's trivia question, what future Hall of Famers played in the 1980 World Series? Combined for both teams, who were the Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers that played in the 1980 World Series? Hit me up on any of my social media. Hit me up on the Discord. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, and let's see what we can do with this. All right, going back to October 15th, 2008, J-Roll led off the game with a home run, and the Phillies cruised to a 5-1 victory. Cole Hamels pitched 7 innings, 5 strikeouts, gave up 1 run as the Phils clinch a spot in the World Series for the first time since 1993. And they had to await the winner of the Rays Red Sox, who at this point, the Rays had a 3-1 lead. Red Sox came back and forced a Game 7, which kind of helped set up their pitching staff, or helped the Phillies set up the pitching staff and get to the Rays in Game 1 of that series. But that happened in 2008. 1 year later, Carlos Ruiz and Raul Bañez both hit 3-run homers to pick up the pitching staff, who kind of struggled, as the Phillies win Game 1 of the NLCS over the Dodgers 8-6. Chooch and Raul coming through in the clutch, bailing out the pitching staff. And then go back to 2022. Phillies chased Charlie Morton in the second, or after 2 innings, as they cruised to an 8-3 win, earning a spot in the NLCS. Brandon Marsh with a 3-run homer. Bryce Harper hit a homer. And of course, who could forget JT's inside the park home run, which was the first inside the park home run by a catcher in Major League Baseball postseason history. Times were good then. We were feeling good. Everybody was excited. Hard to believe that that was just a few short years ago. And then finally, going back to 2023, Eagles lose to the Jets for their first loss of the season, 20-14. Jalen Hurts threw for 280 yards and a touchdown, also ran for 1, but threw 3 costly interceptions. A.J. Brown had 131 yards receiving, but in total, the Eagles offense had 4 turnovers, and they just could not move the ball in the second half. I remember this well. It was kind of a rainy, cold, dreary day, and that was the first time ever that the Eagles had lost to the New York Jets. We all know how 2023 would work out, though. The Eagles would win 5 more in a row before that epic collapse. And again, I'm bringing this up because in that game against the Jets, Jalen Hurts had some yards like he did against the Giants, but was absolutely horrible to keeping control of the ball, couldn't make throws in the second half. Bounced back the next week and was slinging the ball all over the yard at the Link against the Dolphins. So say that to maybe this is the bounce back week for Jalen Hurts in the offense. But in 2023, Eagles lose to the Jets 2014 for the first time ever. All right, and then finally today, continued our 2025 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction spotlight. Today we're going to take a look at Kristi Morgan, who is a field hockey player and coach. She's a Norristown native, 3-time national champion at Old Dominion, 4-time All-NCAA tournament team, 3-time All-American. She is the all-time leading scorer at Old Dominion with 86 goals, good for 113 points. She's a 2-time female athlete of the year at Old Dominion, best female player in all of college sports in 1984. Best field hockey, that was 1985. Best field hockey player in 1984. After graduation, she would go on to play 9 years with the U.S. national team. She's a 2-time member of the U.S. World Cup team. Then spent 15 years as head coach at James Madison, where she'd win the 1994 national championship, becoming the only player in NCAA history to win a national championship as a player, as a coach. Nobody else did it. Kristi Morgan is the only one to do it. She's in the Old Dominion, the U.S. Field Hockey, and the James Madison Hall of Fame. And on November 6th, down at Live Casino, she will take her spot with the greatest athletes in Philadelphia sports history. Kristi Morgan is today's 2025 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight. Tickets are still available for the induction ceremony. Hit me up with that. That's November 6th. There's all kinds of different packages where you can mingle, and we'll continue each day until the induction ceremony to go through the inductees. But Kristi Morgan is today's Hall of Fame inductee spotlight. On this day in 2023, Eagles lose to the Jets 2014 for the first time in franchise history. 1 year earlier, Phillies beat the Braves to move to the NLCS thanks to home runs by Brandon Marsh, Bryce Harper, and an inside the Parker by JT. 2009, it was Chooch and Raul Bañez each hitting 3-run homers to propel the Phillies to an 8-6 win in Game 1 against the Dodgers. Year before, it was J-Roll leading off with a home run in 2008 as the Phillies cruise to their first World Series since 1993. And in 1980, the Cardiac Kid Phillies did it again, coming back from down 2 runs in the 8th inning to beat the Royals to go up 2-0, heading to Kansas City in the World Series. Let me know your thoughts on What If Wednesday and Black Friday. How many future Hall of Famers played in that 1980 World Series? Kind of sad that we don't really have much Phillies news to talk about moving forward, but I'm sure between the Sixers and the Eagles, there'll be plenty to talk about. So looking forward to that. But Joe, not ruled out for Friday yet. I'm all on board with that. All right, this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 15th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.